So good. We talk about you need to rewrite example 11. So to calculate, you have the sum of 1 to 10 is 55. But I want you to rewrite that to the factorial. I hope you try already by yourself. So now I will show you how we will do that in the while loop. And we change to the for loop. So we see that's example 11. So example 11 here, you see we have the while loop for the sum from 1 to 10. But now, how should we do the factorial? So when we do the factorial, that's add another value. We say product. Okay. So factorial, when you start calculating, we need to be careful because you need continue to multiply. So that's why the sum initial value is 0. That's okay because we add. But when we do the factorial, we multiply one by one. So the actual initial value should be 1 instead of 0. Otherwise, any number multiplied by 0 becomes 0. Okay, so then since we already have the counter, how about we just at the same time, we're using the sum. So that's for 1 to 10, right? So then at the same time, we do what? We find the fact. The other one, we do find the factorial of 10. So how should we do? Right, remember earlier we just add num to the sum, right? So factorial, we just do what? I multiply by 1, then 2, then 3. So after we finish 1 times 2, we times 3, we times 4, we times 10. So that's why using the original one to multiply the next number. So right, so earlier is sum plus equal to num, right? So now is product, what? Good, now we multiply. Equal none. Because remember, we try to find the factorial, right? And also this line actually means product equal to the old product multiply the new number. You see, we can do this one since we already have this while loop. Then we just have the increment again. So you see, we can see out sum of the number start to the end is the sum. So then we can display C out again. The same thing. So we see out. We don't do the sum. You see, we do the product. Or we can say that's factorial. Product of the number from 1 to the end. So this one actually is what? You can just say here is, this one actually on the other hand, that's also mean is end, then factorial. Because remember we use the factorial, exclamation mark for factorial. So then equal to the product. Okay, so that we will have, actually I have the sum and the factorial together. Okay, so now we see the output. Okay, so your sum is 1 to 10 is 55. But the product of number 1 to 10 is, you see, 10 factorial is really big. Yeah, so that's the solution, how you will multiply to find the factorial. So again, right, this one we're using the while loop, right? So actually you can, the same thing, we're just using this one to modify. I want you to modify from while loop to rewrite the while loop to a for loop. So then how should we do that? Right, so if you want to do that, right, so you see here, right, we just don't have the while, okay? So then the same thing now, we have the what? We have the for loop. For loop, you have initialization and the test. So then you have update. So can you tell me what is initial? Right, initial is none equal to the start we already have. So you can write this one here, or we say we can skip if you already have the counter initialization outside. So then we have what? Right, our condition is what? Our condition is the none, okay, less than equal to end, okay. Here, because we already defined the start and the end. Also, that's I will show you why we put here, okay. So then you see that's the test. That's the update. So then that's your for loop. So your for loop, you can add sum, you can add the product. But now since we already update in the for loop here, so that's why we don't have the increment again. So that's how you convert your while loop become for loop. So do you believe that's like this? Yeah, we can run the program. Okay, so then that's your while loop become for loop. So again, the same thing. Why here in this example we have the start to the end put in the constant number? Because sometimes maybe you want to run your program differently. You maybe want to have your start from 10 to 25, for example. You see, if we do that, we can just change this line. Then we run the program. Then you see they told you on 10 to 25 is 280. Oh, but factorial will be wrong because factorial have to start from 1. Okay, so maybe we don't do the 10, or we do the 1 to the 25. Yeah, because sum is different. Sum, we start from 0. But factorial means you need to start from 1 times 2 times 3. So they have to start from 1. So then we just see maybe 1 to 25. So then you see they will give you the different value. So that's we have the constant number for the start and the end. Okay, so that's our solution for your peer talk. So yeah, we finished your peer talk example. Let's continue for the next topic. That's the nested loop. What is nested loop? Actually, you already did that. Remember in your assignment 6, we asked you to write a quiz for the second grade student for 3 questions. Students need to answer each one correctly to move to the next one. So right, you have an outer loop. You have a do while loop first to control 3 questions. Then inside the do while loop, you have another while loop to check the user's input. So that's why not until they got the answer correct, they need to continue to give the new input. So that's what we call the nested loop. So the nested loop actually means you have one loop inside another loop. In assignment 6, you have a do while loop. Then inside they have another while loop. So that's what we call the nested loop. Nested loop is a loop inside the body of another loop. So usually we say the loop inside, we call inner loop. The loop outside, we call that outer loop. So for example, you see the code example here. You have a for loop. Then you have another for loop inside. So that's what we call that's a nested loop. So the outer loop, we have the row as the count. Start from 1, 2, 3. Then we have a column as another count. So we start from 1, 2, 3. So then each time they display the row times column. So actually this one, when you copy and run in your program, that's your result here. So actually they kind of display 3 times 3 times table. Okay, so then we see how they will do. Okay, so actually this one is your 1, 2, 3, right? So the first time, outer loop, you start 1 time, start from 1, row equal to 1. Then column equal to 1. You see, so when row equal to 1, column equal to 1, row times column 1 times 1 is 1. Then you see inner loop, after I finish 1 time, actually I didn't go back. Okay, so after I finish my for loop, I need to finish my for loop, inner loop finish, right? You see for column equal to 1, so I execute this code block. So I come here. So after I finish 1 time, I need to go back because this code block I finished for the for loop. I need to come back to update. So that's why column start from 1, now column become 2. So 2 less than 3, so I do the row 1 times column 2 become 1 times 2 is 2. So after I finish, again, I didn't leave. I just need to come back to my update. So 2 become 3. On 3 equal to 3, 2. So I execute again. So row is 1 times 3 becomes 3. So then when we come back here, so column increment by 1 become 4. So that's false. So then I finally finish here. So then after I finish the whole inner loop, then I will go back to my outer loop. But after the first iteration, when row equal to 1, column start from 1, 2, and 3. So that's why here is our first line. Okay, so that's the first iteration from the outer loop. Then you see after I finish this one, right? So outer loop down here. So row equal to 1. So then I need to go to update. So row equal to 2. So then 2. So then I come back to here. I execute my loop inside. So that's why here you will see row equal to 2 by column start from 1, 2, and 3. So 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3. So that's why you have the second line. So of course the same thing. After we done here for the second line, we just come back to here for the third time. So now row equal to 2, so then our increment becomes 3. So 3, 2. So then I come back here to execute this inner loop again. So column is 1, 2, 3. So then row is 3. So times 1, 2, 3. So becomes 3, 6, 9, right? That's why it displays 3, 6, 9 here. So then after you're done, okay, so row equal to 3, increment by 1 become 4. So that's false. So we finish that. So this one is we call the nested for loop. So that's why when we talk about nested loop, you need to be careful. So inner loop goes through all repetition for each repetition for the outer loop. So that's earlier I said, your outer loop, each iteration, actually the whole inner loop will go through all the repetition. So that's why one outer loop equivalent to the whole inner loop. So the inner loop repetition completes sooner than the outer loop. Also, of course, we need to finish the inner loop, we go to the outer loop. So the total time of repetition for the inner loop actually is the product of the number of repetition of the two loops. What does that mean? That's me here. Okay. So actually, I want to ask you, how many times we execute this line? How many times? Yeah, actually, that's what we say. You see, inner loop, every time they will do 1, 2, 3 times. But because outer loop will iterate 1, 2, 3 times as well. So here, actually, this line, the inner loop body being executed 3 times 3, 9 times. So that's why here we will have the 9 number display. Yeah, and also sorry, I found out we have one error here. Okay, actually inner loop should be this way, because one thing is we set W4 for each value, but only after the inner loop finish. Okay, after the inner loop finish, before we go to the outer loop, then here we see out new line again. Yeah, so actually it should be this way. Okay, so make sure you run this program to see if that's correct. Yeah, so then the next one, actually, I will have peer talk. I want you to see, can you display a square, 4 times 4 square like this with the star symbol? So I want you to think about using this example to copy over to the your IDE, then start working on that. I will give you the answer next video.